My next guest to the podcast had an interesting 2025. He completed his diploma in emergency health, began work as an online distance coach, rode his bike across the continent of Australia, and got a tattoo. No, it wasn't an M dot because he's never done an iron distance race. Joining me from his home in Brisbane, Australia, welcome to the podcast, Matt O'Brien. Hey, Matt.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you. Morning. How are you?
Good evening. I'm good.
Oh yeah, yeah, true. Oh, very good.
Yeah, we're doing this from across the planet. I'm up in Vancouver,
Yeah,
British Columbia, Canada. You're down in Australia.
yep.
Uh,
Yeah, technology's amazing, isn't it?
it is. It even allows us to do something like this for an entire race for 36 hours, which you're going to be a part of coming up here this year. This is going to be a fantastic
Yeah,
event.
yeah. It was an incredible and really strong FOMO last year watching it all unfold. It was.
Yeah, well, that was the point of it. We want to get more people wanting to get
Yeah,
over there and do that race.
it was effective.
Well, out of that introduction, I think the first thing I would like to talk to you about, if you don't mind, is I saw you posted that you got a new tattoo. And from the looks of your
I did.
Instagram, I don't think
Yep.
that it was your first tattoo. So, do you feel like
No,
sharing
there's
what
one
you
or
got?
two. Yeah, so I wanted something after Ultraman, and granted it took me a bit of a while to get around to it, but I just got the Ultraman logo, and then my race number as well, as you keep your race number in Ultraman. So yeah,
Oh,
as a good little reminder to me about, one of the really hard things that I've taken on. So
oh,
yeah,
that's awesome. Can we get another look at
yeah,
that for the people on the
yeah,
YouTube
it's a
there?
bit hard to see, but yeah,
Oh yeah, look at
see
that.
there.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Number
yeah, something a bit.
368.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yep, yeah. Good number.
Uh,
I did have to check all of my photos and everything about 30 times before I got that tattoo done, but because I've usually got a pretty good attention to detail, but I could just see myself, you know, going back next year and then realizing I've got the wrong number or
yeah.
something.
Yes,
That was the big risk.
that would be a little awkward for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, it looks good. What
Thank you. Yeah.
what other tattoos do you have?
Oh, I've got a few. There's a YouTuber that I loved called Casey Neistat, and he's got a tattoo that I loved. And it just says "Do more," and I've got that on the inside of my arm there in my handwriting. Just as a yeah, I like that philosophy. There's always a bit more you can do, and it keeps you positive. I suppose keeps you from getting too overwhelmed or weighed down. And the other ones are just nothing exciting.
Oh yeah, yeah. But you're
Yeah,
you're the
they're probably
usual.
the two important ones.
Yeah, absolutely. You're the
Yeah.
usual suspect though, where once you got one, you had to get more, right?
Unfortunately, that's a real thing. Yeah, I don't subscribe to the "it's a good pain" thing. Some people say, it's a good pain. I don't subscribe to that at all. It's not a good pain at all. But they are one of those things. I think that once you get one, it's kind of like, oh, I might get that one day, and
Yeah,
yeah, over time
yeah.
that compounds.
Do you go to the
Yeah.
same artist all the time? Do you want to give a shout out to your tattoo artist?
No, I don't. I don't even think I've been to the same one twice, to be
Oh,
honest.
okay.
Not through any like intentional reason. They seem to be fairly short planning. Like, like I'll plan it, then a week later it happens.
Oh yeah.
And because I've been traveling around so much with work and whatnot, it's yeah,
I get it. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
let's talk a
yeah,
little bit about what you do for a living. I understand that before you got into ultra, you were working in the mining
yep,
industry, and maybe
yeah, that's right.
you weren't as fit as you are now. You look quite fit. What was your
Yeah,
life like at that time when you were in the mining industry?
actually, it's funny. I have got one other tattoo that is probably an important one, and it's on the back of my arm there, 52.8. So I'll explain that a tiny bit. So when I worked in the mines, I was a production superintendent of one of the really big mines in New South Wales, and I just worked huge hours. I lived at work, and I spent my time off on the weekends drinking, quite large amounts of alcohol and partying. And I had a pretty big boat at the time, and my mates and I had just spent the weekend, you know, drinking and partying and having a good time. So there was no real consideration into eating healthy or anything like that. And that combined with my roster and the big hours I worked, led me to be in quite poor shape. So the heaviest that I ever got to was 152.8 kilos, hence the 52.8. So
Okay.
I was, it's quite, I don't know, I don't want to say humbling. It's quite interesting, but to look back at photos of back then and yeah, see the
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. And for our American friends that are listening or watching, that would be upwards of 330 pounds. Is that, do you know?
Yeah, it's a wild. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but I have Googled it a few times to
Yeah.
see the conversion, and it was quite excessive.
Yeah. Yeah. I think,
Um,
yeah, I think it's like
I know that like,
335.
yeah, yeah, it was big. Hey, some of the photos are quite. I don't want to say hard to look at, but you kind of look at them and just think, well, I don't really know how that was acceptable.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah,
yeah, you mentioned a boat, and I understand that you had a life-threatening experience that kind of put you into a totally, completely different road with your life. Can you tell us about
yeah. So
that?
that was yeah. That's actually how that turning point changed so much in my life. So we used to do a lot of fishing for game fish, so way out to sea, like over the continental shelf off New South Wales. So we'd leave home in the dark and spend an hour or two traveling out into the ocean and then fish all day and then come home in the dark. We had a bit of an incident one day. We're about 80 kilometers out to sea, so say 35, 40 nautical miles out to sea, and we flipped the boat onto its roof
Oh my.
with two of us on board. Yeah, so all happened very quickly. A couple of things went wrong, and yeah, next thing you know, boat's upside down. So thankfully, in that process, we'd set the EPIRB off. So we kind of scurried onto the boat and yeah, waited there looking at this piece of plastic with a light flashing, hoping that it's working because that's what you don't think with EPIRBs. Like you assume they work, but when you need one, you it's just a plastic box with a light flashing, and you're just hoping that it's doing its job. But
So, so for
anyway,
those of
the
us that
Westpac
aren't boaters,
helicopter.
what's an EPIRB? Sorry.
So it's yeah, so it's just a satellite GPS device. So it's always inactive. It has like a tab. When you open the tab and push the button, it sends your GPS coordinates and position to AMSA, which is the Australian Marine Safety Bureau,
Okay.
and they can tell there's an EPIRB going off in that location, and they'll send resources that are appropriate to wherever it is.
Okay. Okay.
So we floated around the water for a while, and then the Westpac helicopter actually came overhead, and they winched down and they winched us both into the helicopter. The boat sank that night and was never seen again. So
Oh, how
yeah,
long how
but
long were
that was
you sitting on the boat tipped over while you're waiting for the rescue?
for yeah, for us in the water. To be honest, it feels like 10 minutes. Apparently it was pretty close to an hour by the time. It was quicker than normal because they were on a job and they got re-diverted.
Okay.
But yeah, from what I could get from talking to the crewman and that, it was about an hour in the water, maybe just a bit less. But that felt like 5 or 10 minutes. It flew.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, I would think it would go the other way.
Yeah, you'd think so. Yeah, 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 you'd think so. But no, not the case. It went really quickly. It did. Yeah.
Yeah. And
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 that
and
was, I guess, the big turning point.
yeah, so tell us about that. What did this do to you, this experience? What made a turning point?
It's it's hard to explain. I think it's a mixture of quite a few things with quite a few emotions, I guess, in there as well. But I can very distinctively remember. So the boat was floating bow up. So I was kind of standing on the windscreen, looking up in water, kind of up to my chest. And I can remember like looking up and the helicopter comes down above us and, the crewman's winching down or the paramedics winching down. And I can remember looking back towards the coast and there was like this amazing sunset. And as traumatic and as terrible as the circumstances were, there's also that small part of you that kind of has to take that in and go like, this is actually quite incredible, like thankfully most people would go their lives without experiencing something like that. But
Yeah.
it was hard to kind of not take in this incredible sunset and then this massive helicopter above you. And then, yeah, a couple of months later, I decided to take some time off work. So we actually built another boat and fished another season. And then
Okay.
I took a bit of time off work and did a lap around Australia. And I got uh, maybe a month, 2 months into my trip and I just thought, I want to go and try and do that for a job.
Oh,
And that
wow.
was, yeah. Yeah. So at the time, I was still probably 150 kilos, zero exercise, just, yeah, in my dual cab Land Cruiser traveling around. And then, yeah,
Wow.
it
Wow.
just kind of clicked one day. And I just thought, no, I need to give this a shot. And yeah.
So when you decided that you wanted to give that a shot, what did that entail for you? What did you have to do? Did you keep working in mining and do some transitional education, or what
Yes.
was going on?
So yeah, so I started on LinkedIn actually, because it's quite hard to find information about how to get into that industry because a lot of the people in that industry have either been in it for ages or have kind of came straight across from defense. So for a civilian looking to get into the industry, there's not heaps of information online.
Hmm.
So I just went on LinkedIn and then kind of just cold messaged maybe only 4 or 5 people and we're just like, I didn't tell them about the boat thing. I just said, hey, this is my name. I do this for a job now. This is, the industry I work in, but I'm really interested in this role. I just wanted to see if you guys could give me, 5 minutes for a chat. And they all replied and were phenomenal. I actually work for one of them now. I do.
Oh, that's awesome.
But they laid out a very clear pathway for me. They were kind of like, these are the things that you'll need to do. This is the training you'll need. This is the fitness test, criteria. These things are pretty much non-negotiable. So it would have been probably the best part of 18 months between making that decision, if not a bit more,
Mm.
between making that decision and then, yeah, kind of getting, an interview and a role out of that.
And did you continue working during that time, or were you focusing on getting
I did, yeah,
ready
yeah, yeah.
to? Yeah.
Yeah. So I worked full time in the mines still for the majority of that time. And then I just decided that it was all getting a bit too much and I just needed to commit to it. I kind of got to the point where it was, I need to burn all the bridges and just fully commit to this. And if it doesn't, if it doesn't work out, then I can always go back to the mines. I'm leaving on good terms, but it was too hard trying to juggle my training and what I was trying to achieve while I was working 12-hour days, 6 days a week. So
Wow.
I actually quit my mining job and went and worked at a gym for, it wasn't long. It was maybe 2 months at the gym. And then, yeah, my phone rang one day and yeah, after probably the 15th interview, I got a start. So,
Wow. So,
yeah.
so you were saying that
Yeah.
there was a physical fitness test, and when you were talking
Yeah.
earlier about being at the mine and being, 152 kilos, wow,
Yeah.
did you have to do like an extreme exercise program then at that point to try and get ready for this new position?
Yeah. So I did the first. So I had to focus like pretty heavily on weight loss. And then the other thing that was a real killer for me was swimming. So I probably did the first 20 to 30 kilos of my weight loss really bad. I just kind of lived on 1,000 calories for, months. And yeah, looking back in hindsight, it was effective, but it was pretty detrimental to my, energy levels and training overall.
Yeah.
um, but probably the biggest take out of it, and this is one of the, I think like a really big highlight for me, especially when I finished day one at UM, when I first spoke to these guys and they kind of gave me the fitness test, I went to the pool. I remember I was in Broome and I tried to swim and I could do like 6 or 7 strokes and I had to stop because like I'd always been around the water, but I'd just never been a good freestyle swimmer. Like it was just, we'd go to the shelf and jump in the water and swim around the boat, but you'd just float around and do breaststroke. Yeah.
You're not a
So I
real
couldn't even do a
Aussie.
lap of the
Come on,
25
you're not a
meter
real
pool.
Aussie.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, so like when I first started, I couldn't even do a lap of the 25-meter pool. So then to have the fitness test, which was a 700-meter swim in less than 16 minutes, which isn't aggressive, but when you can't even swim 25-meter lap, that's
Yeah.
aggressive. So yeah, I ended up learning to swim again as an adult. Went and did swim classes a couple of days a week with watching the 7-year-old kids smash me.
They
Quite
didn't have an
humbling.
adult lesson.
They did, but we're all in the same pool, so it's
Yeah,
hard to not realize that the kids next to you are, doing 2 laps to your one.
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, did
Yeah.
did you have a sporting background as a kid? If you weren't in the water like every other Aussie, were you playing footy or soccer or
Not
what were you
really.
doing?
So, uh, played footy when I was very, very young, but pretty much my teenage years and all through high school, just BMXs and stuff like that. And then when I first got into the mines, I did a lot of powerlifting and weightlifting and bodybuilding and that kind of stuff. So never anything endurance. So I'd always kind of, especially after doing a lot of powerlifting and stuff, I'd always kind of told myself and justified to myself like, you'll never be a runner. Like I'm not built to be a runner. And I won't lie, I still think there's a bit of truth in that. But I've done some pretty good runs now, so
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair to say that really anymore.
And when you were working now in this job, I understand that you also like
Yeah.
you've got your 2 weeks on and your 2 weeks off, and
Yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah,
I I guess how does it work for you? Are you're stationed at some base somewhere and then you get calls out, or
yeah,
you're doing
yeah,
like practices, or how do you get your training
yeah.
in when you're got your 2 weeks on, or do you get any training in?
No, I've got a pretty good system most of the time. Obviously you can plan the best week you can, but then when you work a job like we do, like we'll just randomly end up on overtime some hours when a job goes over or something. So you just kind of make it work. But I do 7 days, a 24-hour shift, and then 7 nights. So the day shifts can be a bit of a challenge. So how I kind of structure my training, especially at the moment, is that day shift week is kind of my recovery week. I don't plan that to be a very big week just because I know it's difficult to train. Night shift week for me is mecca. I can train on night shift, because you got all day. I don't start till 5 p.m. So I train pretty hard on night shift, and then my 2 weeks off are the same. Basically, for the 2 weeks off, I have no distractions really from training and eating, so it's really good.
Yeah. And what is your life
Yeah,
like at home when you are home for 2 weeks?
yeah, really good. It's kind of like you can compare it to going on holidays every 2 weeks, to be honest, because you finish work and then you have 2 weeks till you go back to work, and no real you know work or job commitments during that 2 weeks. So it's just travel and catch up with friends and
Oh,
train,
yeah, yeah.
train,
So
train.
no family, no kids that
Yeah.
you have to chase around or take places. It's
No, none.
yeah.
No. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Just me. So yeah.
That's going to make it easy then, compared to a lot of these people
Very
out there.
simple.
You
Yeah.
know that you compete against all these
A
moms and
hundred percent.
dads that are trying to squeeze that
Yeah.
training in, and yeah, you
I
get
I really don't know how they do it, to be honest with you. So I was working a similar roster when I trained for last time, and my partner at the time, she was just incredible with being accommodating and it never being an issue. But
yeah,
I did reflect quite a few times, like if I worked Monday to Friday, had a family, and was training for this, it would be such a different world.
yeah.
I take my hat off to them. I don't know how they do it.
So in January last year, you completed a diploma in
Yep.
emergency health. I assume this is part
Yeah. Yep.
of what you're doing in your job. Is it a requirement, or is it just something that you did as I want to have the extra training?
Yeah, that's right. So it's not a requirement. We always fly with a paramedic and then usually a doctor as well. Um, so for me, it was more about just giving me a bit more of a better understanding of what was going on in the back of the aircraft when they were with patients.
Oh yeah,
So when we do winch jobs, it's very regularly just myself and the paramedic, and then you do get pretty hands-on sometimes with those patients. So just it doesn't give me any different scope or anything. It just gives me a better understanding,
mm,
be a bit more helpful with them, and
yeah,
have a bit better situational awareness of what's actually going on while they're doing the treatment.
right, yeah. And what's the
Yeah,
intensity of a program like that? How long does it take, and are you able to fit it in with your work, or are you now trying to study while you're at work?
yeah, yeah. I can get a bit of study done during work hours, which is really good. Our our maximum hours we can work are capped by CASA, which is the Civil Aviation Authority. So we can't just, even though we're rostered on, say, 7 till 5, we can't stay at work 7 till 5 every day because we just run out of hours. So
Right.
we do kind of go in, check all the aircraft, do all our checks, make sure everything's sweet, and then you go back to the accommodation and just be on standby. So there is opportunities to do study at work, which is really good.
Yeah.
It was a 2 year diploma, and I did it in about a year and a half, and that's just due to really good opportunities like that. And to be fair, my 2 weeks off, it's really easy on my 2 weeks off to get training.
Yeah.
Training in.
Right. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
jump on the laptop for a few hours somewhere, and yeah,
Oh, that's great. And does this now open up
yeah,
other job opportunities for you in the future? Should you want to? Is that part of it?
it will help contribute to that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't say it directly would open up any opportunities, but I guess every bit of training you do and every bit of experience you get over time, builds that resume and builds your experience and makes you more employable.
Yeah. Would you be
Yeah.
considered a paramedic at this point? Would you be able to go into a ground ambulance and be a
No,
paramedic? No.
no,
So it's still a level below that.
no, no, much different roles.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, much different roles still. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, let's talk a little bit about your races. I mentioned in the beginning that you've never actually done an Ironman event, which is interesting, or an
yeah,
iron distance
yeah,
event.
yeah,
You've done a handful of
yeah,
70.3s. You did the Ultra 355 that they used to have.
yeah.
What
Yep.
convinced you to try and go to the Australia?
Um, Jeff and Andrew Trout, I'll directly blame them too, I think. I think I can directly blame them too. And John Demandel is the other one. He was very much to blame for that as well.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So did 355 and then we went out to dinner on day three. And the decision was kind of made that night. I think it was Tony had kind of suggested, would you consider doing one day? And I kind of was like, oh, I can't. I've never done a full distance Ironman. Like that's the prerequisite. And they were kind of, oh, well, we've done 355 now. We'd accept that. And then I think I registered about a week later.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was those guys are very strongly to blame for that, thankfully.
Yeah. So that's Tony Horton that you mentioned there, the owner of the
Yeah,
race, the guy who started it off, and Jeff Morris is the
yeah,
current
that's
race
right.
director. Yeah.
Jeff Morris. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Well, when you did your first one in 2024, I don't know what your goals might have been, maybe to get it done, as most people do when they do their first or
Yeah.
515 distance race. But you were
Yep.
one of those guys that wants to add a little bit of drama to the race. Can you tell us about what happened?
I on day three, I made the run cut off by it was like 2.5 minutes. Not intentionally either. And even running down the beach, I was convinced we weren't going to make it. But yeah, we did by 2.5 minutes. um, yeah, it was quite an experience, I must admit.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
who was on your crew that was helping you to push and get that under the wire finish?
Yeah, I had a really good crew. So I had a pacer lined up, and then kind of a few that were tentative, but nothing really locked in. So the two paces that I ran with, I didn't actually meet until the athlete briefing.
Oh yeah.
Um, and they were both just phenomenal. Nikki Fox and Michael Wakeman, and they were just yeah. There's no way I would have finished day three, at least not within the cutoff, if it wasn't for them two,
Oh yeah.
which was a big shift for me because going into Ultraman, and I guess you don't know what you don't know. I didn't really want to have a pacer. I was just kind of like, no, I'd prefer to just do the day by myself, you know. And I look back now, and that was insanity. But you don't know what you don't know. There's no way I would have finished day three if it wasn't for them,
Yeah.
for multiple reasons. And then the other part of my crew was my partner at the time, Belinda Sampson, John DeMandel, and his wife Kim, and those three were just superstars.
Mm.
Yeah, I could not speak highly enough for how incredible they were.
Yeah, yeah. And we had John on the podcast last season after the race.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
He
yeah. I did listen
unfortunately
to
had
that.
a
Yeah,
he had a DNF at that race after crashing twice. Uh,
yeah, yeah. You couldn't make that up. It's so sad.
yeah, yeah. But he had a great
Yeah,
attitude about it in that episode. He was still, and he got
yeah,
engaged. So
yeah. How good? Yeah, I love watching that. That's so good.
yeah,
John's a super resilient and positive guy. It'd take a lot more than that to shake him as disappointing as it was. He's a really good dude.
hmm and obviously all of these experiences that you had and the FOMO from watching it last year online has got you signed up to go back again, and that's why we got you here today to talk about what's coming up
Yeah,
for you.
yeah,
What is it
yeah.
about that
Exciting.
whole experience? Is there something other than what you've already said that's like forcing you to, I got to go do that again, or is it I got to beat that time, or what is it for you that's taking you back again this year?
I definitely have some unfinished business with day three. That's for sure. But that's not the reason for going back. I think the reason for going back is the atmosphere. Like the Jeff and the dream team are just yeah, like nothing you've ever experienced before until you see them in action. They're just incredible. And then you combine that with the other athletes and their teams. It's just yeah, by far the best event you know
Yeah.
that I've been involved in. It's not as flashy as Ironman. You see Ironman with the red carpet and the loud music, and it's a pretty awesome atmosphere. But you can't compare that, I don't think, to the vibe you get from Ultraman and the people there. It's yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's tough.
Plus, plus the distances are cool. Like it's fun to tell people I'm training for, training for a 84-kilometer run and a 10K ocean swim.
Yeah. Was that the first time you got to 10K on a swim? Was when you did the Ultraman?
I I did one in the pool. So I was working in East Timor at the time, and I did a pool swim that was 10K in an 18-meter pool. So it was like 500 and something laps.
How did you count?
But I just watch,
Yeah.
strictly
Okay.
watch. I was
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can count to about five, and that's it. Yeah, but I'd done a couple of reasonably long open water swims and a couple of reasonably long pool swims as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of went into it fairly positive and got out of the water. I don't remember my time. It was slower than I'd wanted
It was
by a fair bit.
4:24. 4:24 was your time.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So slower than I wanted by a fair bit. But at the same time, it was kind of, I got out of the water. I wasn't cooked. I felt really positive. I'd taken on nutrition throughout the whole swim. And 2 years before, I couldn't even swim 25 meters.
There
So
you go.
I didn't bash myself up over that. I was kind of like, it's not the result I wanted, but you've still got to appreciate where you've came from. And yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So, with the times that you had in your previous race in 2024 and the knowledge that you've gained from meeting all these people and now getting some extra training in and knowing what you didn't know before, what are your goals for this year?
yeah, yeah.
What are you looking to do?
Um, I don't. I'd like to go sub 4 for the swim. I know that. I'd definitely like to do that. Swimming is a little bit difficult for me with work. So, because of where I work, when we're on day shift, there's just zero pool access. There isn't a pool on the island.
Right.
On night shift, I can catch the ferry over to Thursday Island during the day and swim. But at the moment, it's costing me about $36 every time I go over by the time I pay for the ferry and my pool entry. So I did that 3 times last tour. It's $120 in pool fees for a
Yeah.
week. It starts to get a bit out of control, but
Yeah.
I think I'll just have to suck that up for me night shifts for the next few months and
Oh, yeah.
just pay it. The ride I haven't put a great deal of thought into. I'm pretty confident that the bike for both days will be, you know, well under cutoff and should feel good. So I'm happy with that. The run, I don't think I want to share my target time, but it will be nowhere near the 2.5 minutes. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I didn't feel like it was going to be that close, and I feel like I had put the K's in. I was a little bit behind the ball when I started, due to a couple of reasons, but we were 18 or 19 weeks out, and my run volume was only 20-25K a week
Oh, wow.
at the time, which yeah, so there was a bit of confusion with myself, my coach, when the dates were, and a few things like that. And then we kind of started a bit behind the ball. So I think that in an effort to ramp up, my kilometers over the week, it just left me a bit too cooked to do much speed work. And yeah, I put some pretty big weeks back to back. I did a 50K run and, plenty of long runs and some 60, 70, 80K weeks leading up to it. But
Yeah.
I think the fatigue was just a bit too high to, you know, yeah, I was just kind of digging myself into a big hole.
Yeah, yeah. And who's going to be
Yeah,
on
but
your? Yeah,
the
go
goal
ahead.
ultimately, but was to finish. It was so. I'm not going to take anything away from that. As someone that spent their whole life saying I'm not a runner, and
And not a
from where I'd come
swimmer.
2 years earlier to, yeah, exactly, yeah, to finish a double marathon under the cutoff, I was happy to take that tick, and yeah,
Yeah.
but next time should be better.
And who are you bringing for your crew? Have you got that worked out?
Yeah, I've got 3 people that are brilliant as well. So, 2 triathletes, one from the Cupcake Cartel, Janita Ray, she's incredible and heaps of experience. Another guy from Maitland, where I used to live, Troy Ridgely, so really good triathlete and just overall just super dude. And a lady that I used to work with as well. So not a triathlete, Michelle Barrett, and she's just a superstar of a human, just one of those infectious, happy, bubbly, positive people. So she'll just be great
Oh,
to
she
have a
won't
part of
get
the team.
along with
And
the people at Australia at all.
yeah,
Then.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm in for a big few days with them three. I think they'll keep me honest. So
Oh,
yeah, it'll be really good.
that's great. Um,
Yeah.
and I assume that you put this cross Australia bike trip into your plans as part of your training for this. You cycled
Yeah.
unsupported across Australia, did a little bike packing trip. Was this the Indie Pack,
Yeah.
or did you just do this on your own?
No, I just did it on my own. It was kind of so when I was training for Ultraman last time, I met a cyclist that I was working with that had done IndyPac a couple of times, and then had done the Trans Am in America. And then I guess that kind of planted the seed with me. I kind of went away from that conversation and I was like, that's pretty cool, hey? Like, riding across Australia unsupported. And he'd told me stories about, sleeping on the side of the road in his sleeping bag and stuff like that. And I was just like, oh, I really like that. And then that kind of, yeah, I guess manifested over time. And then earlier this year, I was like, I'm just going to bite the bullet. I'm just going to do it. Put in the leave and work approved it. And yeah,
That's,
I started training and a couple of months later, I was on the bike.
that's great.
Yeah, it was great.
That
It
wasn't
was
that
so
wasn't Nick
cool.
Mallet, was it?
No, I
Okay.
can't. It was Carl Gillies. His name is, yeah, pilot from work.
Okay. Yeah. And
Yeah,
how long did it take you, and what was the distance that you covered?
yeah. So 4,200 and something Ks. I don't remember the exact number. 42 something. It was just over 20. I think it was 21 days. So it averaged about 210 a day. That did when you averaged out overall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did the last um 496 in one go. So I knew during the ride that I wanted to have one day where I really punched it and tried to see the Ks that I could get. And then yeah, 500 Ks on Google, but it only ended up being 496 on me Garmin by the time I got there. But I did that in 28 hours. I slept once for an hour on the side of the road, just in my cycling clothes, didn't even take my shoes off, just kind of put the bike down. I laid on a bit of grass next to the road, set my alarm for an hour, and yeah, that
Wow.
was yeah, I was demolished by the time I got to Sydney.
Yeah. So you finish in Sydney at the Opera House. You start in Perth or
Yeah,
Fremantle. Um, I
yeah, I started at Frio. Yep.
Yeah, I did a year of teacher exchange in Perth with Kate
Oh, cool.
Bevilacqua. So I
Yep.
actually familiar with Frio. Loved going
Yeah,
over there
nice.
on the
Oh, how cool.
weekends. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a beautiful spot. Unfortunately, I haven't spent a heap of time there, so I got off the plane because I'd finished night shift at work, flew the following morning, got to Perth at about 9 o'clock, and then I just got an Uber with my bike box to Frio Beach, put my bike together, smashed the box up, put it in a bin, and then that was it. So,
Well, at least you got your
yeah,
bike there with you. You know, sometimes when you're traveling, the bike doesn't always
yeah.
make it. And I
Oh, I was so
understand
scared.
you have a few adventure stories to go along with this journey of yours of 21 days, and one of them does involve your
Yeah,
bike. Is that right?
yeah. It was a roller coaster. It was. I actually have footage of this morning that I still haven't been able to watch, but I I had a lot of issues with my back wheel, so I snapped a couple of spokes just out of Kalgoorlie. Managed to get them fixed. Um, Thanks to a guy that helped me out. I put a post on Facebook Marketplace, and because it was a public holiday, and yeah, thankfully he could help me and
And
fix the
and
bike, and I
and
got running again.
Kalgoorlie's
That
not far into this ride, right? You're going across
Now it's like
Australia.
400 k's.
Yeah.
It's like 400 or 500 k's, and I've got this massive mechanical on a basically brand new bike. Yeah, I'm usually pretty positive. I was not very happy, but the worst thing that could have happened, and that was we fixed the bike, and then I got to the very start of the Nullarbor, which is Norseman, and I snapped another spoke, and I knew it was like 16, 1700 k's to the next bike shop. And yeah, I'm not sure if you've seen the photo, but by the time I made Sejuna, I had 6 or 7 broken spokes. You could put your hand, like your fist, through the tire in one spot. It was, I don't know how the bike was still going. The back wheel was like this. But yeah, so I got to Sejuna and I had a rim waiting for me. I got a rim from Adelaide and got it posted to Sejuna. Got there pretty late in the afternoon, and yeah, I set my tent up, paid for a caravan for the night, caravan park, which I don't usually do, but yeah, set the tent up, chained my bike to a fence, went to sleep, and then I woke up at maybe 5 o'clock in the morning, unzipped my tent, stuck my head out, and my bike was gone.
Oh my goodness.
It wa- yeah, it had been stolen overnight. So I went through maybe 20 minutes or so of deep contemplation about my life and my life choices. Because like even if by some miracle I could, like, you couldn't buy a bike in Seduna unless maybe there was one on Marketplace, but Like, even if I could buy a bike, by the time I got it there, I wasn't going to make, my flight back to Sydney. Like, it was the ride was over. Like, there was no,
Hmm.
there was no option.
Yeah.
And then
How big of a place was this that you were in where the bike was stolen?
oh, it's a small town, so it's a big small town, but it's not big or small by Australian standards. That's confusing, isn't it? It's a reasonably sized town. It is. It's reasonably big, but
Right.
it's not a city, but it's still a reasonable size.
Big enough for somebody to
Um,
go hide
but
a bike and nobody would necessarily be able to say,
oh,
"Oh,
completely.
it's the kid
Yeah,
from
yeah,
down the
totally.
street. I
Yeah.
know who took your bike."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Without saying too much, when I spoke to the police, I have a feeling that the police had a pretty good vibe who it was. They didn't let any details on, but yeah, I feel like they had a pretty good vibe.
Yeah.
But I guess the key to all this is it clicked with me just out of nowhere. I thought, oh, I've let my car keys are in my frame bag, and my car keys have got an AirTag on them. So I pulled out my iPhone, opened the Find My app, and I could actually see the bike's location,
Oh.
maybe 5K away on the other side of town. So yeah, I walked to the police station, and there was a few hours of back and forth, and a couple of other things happened, and then yeah, the police were out looking, and then I was out on foot looking as well, and then it turns out they pulled over, and you know you the guy looking for the bike? Yeah, yep. Oh, we found it. That was yeah. The videos I was talking about that were quite emotional was that process of
Oh yeah.
them telling me they'd found the bike, and then I didn't I wasn't gonna really let myself believe it until I seen the bike, because it could be someone else's stolen bike, or it could be the person's bike that owned it. Like it's,
Hmm.
but yeah, I've actually got it on footage as the police kind of wheel the bike out from behind the car, and it's like, oh my god, like it's not over. So
Uh,
I lost maybe $1,000 worth of stuff that was on the bike, which is unfortunate. But
yeah.
the probably the worst thing that they stole was my crank tank, like the 3 liter water tank that was in my frame,
Mm.
because I still had a couple of days where it was like 200 kilometers between servos. So that really impacted me carrying water for them days.
Right.
Um, because I didn't have many bottle cages because I had the 3 liter crank tank. So I ended up getting some bottle cages, and then the biggest bottles I could get was 700 mils. So I went to kind of 1.4 liters instead of three, and then had to just kind of jerry rig and bungee a few water bottles to the bike. But
Right. Yeah.
got to the post office, got the wheel changed, and then I hit the road. I still did about 170K that day. I rode till about 11 o'clock that night, and yeah,
Well,
still put in a big day. Yeah,
when I was
yeah.
looking at your bike, I noticed there wasn't much on it. And I thought,
No,
oh,
no. So
you're a really good like bike trekker. You can travel with the least amount of stuff possible. But I guess it was a lot of it
yeah.
got stolen.
I'd gone through my packing list a heap of times, and then I even did a couple of long rides. I did two kind of overnight long rides in preparation, and they were really crucial for me realizing that as much as there was things I wanted to take, I didn't want to carry them.
Right.
So I'd culled what I was taking quite a few times to get it down to, you know, I ended up, by the time I got to Sydney, I had one pair of cycling clothes, one pair of clothes to wear when I wasn't cycling, one pair of socks, and yeah, just the other essential stuff I needed. It was pretty nasty, to be honest.
Yeah. And I've seen other
Oh,
people that have done this, cycled across Australia, and basically there are large expanses. You were saying 200
yeah,
kilometers sometimes
yeah,
between service stations, and you just kind of stay at these
yeah,
little roadhouses or pitch a tent wherever.
yeah,
What's that experience
yeah,
like going to the roadhouses across Australia?
yeah. So the roadhouses are all pretty good, I guess, given that there's so much distance in between them. Most of the ones that you go into are like a pretty good standard. Some are certainly better than others, but you can usually get pretty good food at most of them. I didn't camp at any of them. Oh, sorry, I camped in my tent two or three times, out the front or around the back, but not actually in accommodation. Most nights I'd just walk into the bush, 100 meters, set me a tent up there, and yeah, wake up in the morning and off again.
Yeah. And you're
Yeah.
saying the food is not bad at these places, but I'm guessing it's probably not a big variety either. Is it like just your typical
It,
roadside hamburgers and stuff like that?
so this is one thing that was something I probably didn't consider enough. So, in an effort to save weight and not carry too much, I decided to not take any cooking gear. So initially, I was taking cooking stuff, and then I was like, the problem's not the cooking stuff. The problem's food. The problem's needing to carry X amount of food, and even if you take dehydrated meals, like 2 weeks worth is a lot.
Yeah.
And then where do you resupply? And you can't carry cold things, so I ended up just saying like, I'm not going to take any cooking stuff. I'm just going to live at the roadhouses. The bigger roadhouses, because they cater to all the interstate truck drivers, you can pretty much get, decent home cooked food at any of them. Pretty good variety. And to be fair, most meals are really nice.
Yeah.
Something I didn't plan on is the smaller roadhouses, that's not the case. So there was like multiple days I'd ride 150k plus, get to a servo and find a Bayer Marie full of dim sims and Chico rolls and stuff like that. And it was just like, this is not the food that I need after today. And then I think I kind of assumed that the food, like the snacks I'd be able to get at a service station, most places, I'd be able to get on the Nullarbor. But then some of them smaller roadhouses, like you'd go to them and I couldn't get, like there was just no healthy solutions. There was no healthy snacks. Your options were chips, chocolate bars, lollies. It was,
Yeah.
yeah. I hadn't considered that. And then you kind of end up in that predicament where you're walking around the shop like, well, I've got another 100k to the next servo. Kind of need to take something with me. What's the best choice here?
Yeah.
And sometimes there wasn't any.
Yeah. Couple of chocolate bars and a bottle of Coke and off you
Yeah.
go.
I'll be honest, I think I'm probably the only person that has ridden a push bike across the country in 20 days and put on weight. Like, I was heavier in Sydney. I got to Sydney, I was like, oh, geez.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you've got to laugh, eh? I kind of, everyone was joking, like, oh, by the time you come back, you'll be so thin. And yeah, it went the other way for me. But, you live and learn, don't you? You just, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course.
Oh.
Uh, well, the other thing that I mentioned off the top is that in the past year you also started a coaching business. I guess you've reached the
Yeah.
point where you
Yep.
feel like you've got some kind of niche or you've got some knowledge. What is it that you feel that you offer that's kind of unique, that you want to be able to go out and help other people do these crazy ultra events or just get in shape?
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I think that I've been really lucky. So I've had a couple of coaches now that have been, I guess they've all brought different things to the table in their own, in their own unique ways, as everyone does. But I've had a few that have been really, really, really good. But if I look back to my first coach that I had, probably the big highlight that I'd take out of that is I remember like when I did my first ever triathlon, I thought I was going to die. Like I was so nervous leading up to it, and I was just freaking out. It was only a club race. I think it was only a super sprint club race, so like super short. But
Yeah.
being my first one, I freaked, and I just remember the guidance I got through that, and being mentored through that, and then the feeling when I finished my first one, and then I did my first 70.3. You know, maybe 5 months, 6 months later, 6 months at the most, maybe less, through the same coach. And same with that. I remember that feeling when I, crossed the finish line at the first 70.3. And I think that it's hard to replicate that feeling because I've done a couple of 70.3s since. And my last one, my training block was not really ideal due to some issues with work, and it was just a bit chaotic. And you can kind of approach it like once you've done a few, I think you can kind of approach it like, oh, I know I'll finish. It might be a rough day, but I know that I'm going to finish.
Right.
Where when you haven't done one before, you don't really go into it with that attitude.
Yeah.
And I think that especially working shift work for so long and working FIFO for so long, after that you start to realize there's patterns. There's things that work and there's things that make life easier. So I have a lot of experience in that.
Well, listen, I really appreciate you coming in and talking to us about all these different experiences. If people do want
No,
to catch up with you, what are you using? Do you have a website for the coaching? What's your Instagram handle? Can you share that with us?
yeah, absolutely. So I'm currently getting the website built. So at the moment, I'm just Facebook and Instagram, and it's just Lantern Endurance. Just
Lantern Endurance, okay.
yeah, yeah.
And when you are up and running, is it going to be lanternendurance.com or Lantern Endurance
But it should, yeah,
Coaching?
that's the domain. It should just be lanternendurance.com. Yeah, yeah. The website's maybe a month away. I've got a fair bit on at the moment, and I'm slowly working through it all. So it's definitely a priority, but at the moment, it's not quite the top one.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, again, thank you so much for coming and sharing your experiences. I love to do these athlete in profile, so we can introduce people that are going to be racing in the upcoming Australia or whatever race it is that we happen to be doing the
Yeah.
athlete in profile for. And
Yep.
now that we know a little bit more about you, we'll be following you and following you around the race course, and hopefully we'll see you personally, because one of the things we're doing is we're doing it live again. If you've got a crew member that wants to be
Yeah.
your media person that wants to put you live
Yep.
on the screen with us, I'm going to have
Oh,
everybody just
really?
connect in with Zoom live in,
Oh, how
and
cool.
go straight to broadcast. So if there's
Oh, they'll
somebody
love
on
that.
your
They'll be
crew that
all
wants
over
to do that.
that. Yeah, they'll be all over that. They'll love that.
Yeah, excellent.
Oh,
Well, good luck in
thank you so
May.
much for having me on, Larry. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.